Ladies and gentlemen, how's it going? It is a Friday afternoon, a live, spontaneous version of Crime and Culture. I am Tim here today, as always, with Lance and with Rebecca Sebastian today. How's it going?
Going great. Thanks for having me. A little riled up.
I don't blame you. We have been planning this for weeks because we needed to get you and Bill on. This is to unpack the events that happened at Crimecon where Bill was missing, and we had to get the two of you together, and we just realized that Bill is not here. This is the ultimate.
This is the ultimate.
Well,
so it's one of two things happening. He's fucking with me, or Bill has a little bit of a, pattern, shall we say.
Well, I've got an update. He is asking to be let into the Zoom room. As soon as we went live, he popped right up. Okay, we're gonna let him in.
All right, fair enough. Oh, how nice of him to join.
Bill, we are already live. I don't know if you can hear us yet. I think you're still connecting to audio, but before you say anything that might get you canceled, we're already.
Can you guys? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah.
We can't see you yet, but
As
we are
usual,
live.
though, we can't see you.
There he is.
Aw,
There we go.
he is.
Hello.
There's Bill Thomas. How's it going, Bill?
Good. Who controls
Good.
this angle?
Wow.
Is that me? Hang on.
I think so.
I have to move my camera. Hold on.
Don't go out of frame. Do not
Yeah,
go out of
do not
frame.
leave.
We
Do
do
it.
not trust
Do
you.
it.
He's
Look
not
at him.
coming back.
Yes. Here we go. Boom.
Honest to God.
Beautiful. Oh yeah, I think I got it. Just before
I
it
think he
started
thinks this
moving.
is part of his brand. He's like, I'm elusive. I'm mysterious. I am a walking cold case.
Yeah. I am a walking cold case.
And we're back.
Oh,
There we
All
go.
right, yeah. Well,
Wow.
welcome both of you to the show, Bill Thomas and Rebecca Sebastian.
In the same
Bill-
place, kind of.
Bill was on Missing this week in a two-part episode where we spoke about the Colonial Parkway murders, and we got into the minor fiasco at Crimecon 2022 where Bill was missing for a period of time.
I don't think we were the only scandal at this year's Crimecon, but that's a whole different discussion.
It sure is. I'm very grateful for this little caper. I'm calling it a caper.
caper. That's the word that kept escaping me when
Yeah,
I was
it's a
going
caper.
over like what to call it. Yeah. Yeah, it's a caper. I do like capers too.
Me
I mean, I
too.
love capers.
Oh.
Yeah.
I do too. I like planning and executing them. Although this one is much more of a Rebecca Sebastian production than anything else.
Well, for the record, I also enjoy a caper in a Greek salad. So
Yes.
Yeah.
That was the
Those
type
are-
of caper I was talking about.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
Yes.
me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
Throw that on a piccata any day.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yes.
Mm.
Yes.
It's worth noting, by the way, in these early moments that you're wearing a very nice Hail Satan t-shirt.
Gotta support the Satanic Temple.
I've got my
There you go.
Fenway shirt with the Boston contingent being here and all.
Nice.
Hi, Rebecca. I'm here. Really, I am.
Bill, it's like Bill, can I see you? Tommy, can you hear me? He's there in the flesh. Great to see you.
More or less, yes.
All right. Well, we've heard from both sides separately, independently.
Right.
We were present when this happened. And before we get into the events of the evening, before we unpack the caper, I can't not think of opening up a little can of capers, a little jar of capers now. Before we open up that jar of capers, pour it on the Greek salad. We just want to say this is all in good fun, and thank you so much for being a part of this and joining us today, because we do everything so serious all the time, and part of us making light of the situation is because we're able to make light of it, and it wasn't anything completely tragic. So saying that,
Totally.
it was the greatest caper that's ever been poured on a Greek salad.
Well, and before we get criticized, we also want to make it clear that any references to Bill Thomas or anybody else for that matter being missing are delivered in only the most lighthearted sense. We all have worked with any number of people who are involved in missing persons cases that are quite serious. And fortunately for all of us, this was not all that serious.
100% behind both disclaimers. I want to add for anyone feeling maybe like a little uncomfy with this, that I legitimately thought we were talking about a cold, like, or what would become a cold case, a missing person's case. So should anyone feel uncomfortable, just know that my heart truly was concerned, and you will hear more in a moment. But yes, this is all in good fun because we know the wonderful outcome. So Bill is fine.
Right. Okay. So skipping to the end, we know that Bill's okay now. There was a period of time where there was some concern. Let's dig right into this period of time if we can. Rebecca, from your perspective, start us off. When did this, because Bill got to speak on the missing episode this week on Monday. Check that out if you'd like to hear that.
Only in the most loving way, though. Really.
Yes. So Rebecca, we'd love to hear your version of the story.
This is so overdue. May I just say thank you for this platform? I'm tired of being in the shadows about this, and it's time to bring the story to light. So I've set the scene here in my background. This would be the ballroom where the beautiful Clue Awards at Crimecon. So this would have been night 2 of Crimecon 2022. And I was actually one of the panel judges for, as was Bill Thomas. We were asked to review some of the material and some of the nominations for the show, but it didn't really require our presence there. So I never RSVP'd for the event. It just slipped my mind with everything going on. So I didn't think I was going to go. But that day I started going, I think I might want to go. It actually sounds really fun. I'd like to see who won. I have this extra black dress. I mean, let's see if I can get in. And Crimecon very kindly was like, if you didn't RSVP, this is like a sit down dinner. You really can't just like pop in. I was like, oh, no worries. I just won't go. But then I reached out to Bill and asked if he was going. And and Bill, you can refresh my memory here. Although, to be fair, I actually could refresh our memories. 1 second. But so I asked him, are you going, right, Bill? I texted you.
That would be correct.
Yeah. And he said, I am. Kristen and I were going to go, but actually, so I was feeling around. I was seeing if anybody had like a +1 basically where I could join. And he said, Kristen, his wonderful co-host, was going to go with him, but she actually decided to have an early night because her flight had changed. It was leaving earlier in the morning. She didn't want to go out anymore. And I was like, oh, that's sad. But also, could I go as Kristen? Could I be your +1? So it was like a both and. I was like, oh, that's too bad, but this might work out, so there's no empty seat. And Bill was like, great. And I would like to refer you to something here. I did, this is what we in reality TV call bringing receipts. I do have our
oh my,
our text threads here. Okay. So hi Bill,
pulling
it's
a
Rebecca.
Liz Cheney.
Yeah. And he's
wow.
So I said, can I go as her? He said, oh, don't be too impressed. I did this right before we got on. He says, yes. I said, amazing. Ballroom. What time will you arrive? I'm freshening up now. Is Kristen okay? Okay, that's irrelevant. So he said, yes. See you at middle passage here in the middle. See you at 8:00. He was, I should leave that person's name out. He was meeting somebody for a drink, and then he would see me at the ballroom. I said, great. Now I was under the impression.
Oh yeah, we're gonna get Jess Betancourt in the middle.
Yeah, I'm gonna change.
Why'd you say it?
I'm gonna change back to my other
because
thing.
it's too late now. The cat is out of the bag.
Well, we'll have to have her sign off on all of this that's happening.
Right. Well, I think we could subpoena her, but
it might be necessary.
Keep going. Keep digging. Okay. Keep digging.
Yeah, digging. Okay. So setting the scene. So I'm under the impression that I have to be with Bill to get in, right? Like I am not on the list, and they had clipboards and seating arrangements and tabled like numbered tables. So I'm waiting outside the doors, 5 of 8, 8 o'clock, 8:05, 8:10, 8:15. And I'm like, I don't need to be the first person in there. It's fine. I'll just wait a few minutes. But then they were like, people should go in and start getting a seat. It became clear that some people had a reserved seat and some didn't. And that I could just kind of sit anywhere. But I felt bad because Bill was being so generous and gracious as to give me his +1. I felt like we should sit together, and that I didn't want to just go in and like not look at my phone and ignore him, because he was the reason I was able to go that night. So I was trying to just be cognizant of like where he was and us sitting together. So I find a table. I'm sitting with a round table in this room of strangers, delightful strangers. One of them ended up being an amazing guest on Dialogue Podcast. She was the judge in Robert Durst's trial in Galveston, Texas. So all's well that ends well, really. But I was growing increasingly concerned because he wasn't answering. And then they're coming around and asking what I want for dinner. And then drinks are coming around and food is coming around. And I'm like, I'm kind of worried now because we had just texted like moments ago and now it's just radio silence. So in that text thread, you would see lots of blue text from me, nothing back from Bill. I'm like, that's not really a place any girl wants to be in text messages, but I know it's not like that. It was just getting a little like, should I be concerned? Should I be, I don't know. So I pose it to my table. I say, look, I was actually supposed to come here with a friend.
This is at a true crime conference with 5,000 true crime aficionados where you asked this question.
Correct. Yeah. So I figured we have a good cross, sample of people. Not everybody would go right to the worst case scenario. That's how my brain works. But I'm like, surely not everyone's. And it was a split table, but a few people who.
Did they vote? Was there?
Yeah. Yes.
Was this a recorded vote? Could I see results?
No, if I had thought ahead, I would have tried to round some of them up as corroborating witnesses, but I was not prepared for that.
I didn't realize we were going to be calling witnesses, but I guess the word sandbagged comes to mind.
Sustained.
Thank you. May I continue?
Oh, please do.
Okay.
Keep digging.
So the woman that I really trusted to my right, we've known each other 35 minutes or so, was like, I would like step out and like give him a call. Like maybe it's not a text thing, it's a call thing. I'm like, you're right. So I call right to voicemail. So I actually have decided I'm legitimately concerned. Now, I don't know Bill really well. That's the fun part, is like, we met at last year's Crimecon. We are part of the Crawl Space family. We've had many a Zoom together. You've been on my show. Like, we have interacted, but to think that I know Bill in any kind of real sense of like a friend, I don't know if this is normal behavior. So I am just thinking of all the things that can go wrong in a giant casino in Las Vegas. And there's no shortage of scenarios. So I'm concerned. So I'm texting a couple friends whose names I think I can mention. I'm going to just mention one.
Let's go right ahead.
They're Crawl Space family. So I'm texting with Dr. Shiloh, like, what would you do? Because she's a very rational, calm.
She is that.
Keeps her head on.
And I'm sure she said everything's fine, and I don't think Bill's missing.
No, she said, why don't we go to security and get a wellness check, is actually what she said.
Are you guys serious?
Overruled.
Yeah.
Overruled.
Yeah. So no, I want to take that back. First, I didn't jump right to wellness check. I go to the Crimecon producer with the clipboard, and I said, can you tell me if Bill Thomas has checked in? Problem solved. Maybe he got seated somewhere else. This is a big crowded ballroom. I didn't want to go table to table. That felt extra. Going to security for a wellness check didn't seem extra. Going table to table asking, have you seen Bill, seemed extra. So they look at their clipboard and they said, no, I don't think so. Or they didn't check him off. So I'm like, he didn't make it here. So now my mind is really like, okay, he didn't make it here. And he was last getting a drink at this a beer garden type place.
With a suspicious character named Jess Betancourt.
Jay. Let's call her JB.
Let's call her Jay Betancourt. Okay. Also a podcaster.
So of course. I mean, it is Crimecon.
Probably should promote her show while we're at it. But go ahead.
Please. Wonderful person, wonderful podcast. I traipse up to this bar, and the Paris venue is big. I did put my picture up here to note, like, these are high heels. Like, it was a little bit of a schlep. So I go up to that bar. Have you seen Bill Thomas? Have you seen Bill Thomas? Some people knew who you were. Some didn't. Nobody had seen you. The ones who did. Right. And
clearly we need to do more promotion.
That's actually the most surprising part, is that someone didn't know Bill Thomas.
I know. So I'm like, well, I feel like I've done my due diligence. Maybe I should reach out to Kristen. But I felt bad because Kristen wanted to go to bed. Oh, good. I'm glad there's a professional now.
It's about
moderating.
time we have a Puritan judge here.
Yes.
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 I'll rule on this case.
Because we all know judges are to be
I
trusted.
hope there'll be enough time for rebuttal and that my
There will.
colleague is
I'm
not
almost-
just running out the clock here.
We have
I'm
all
almost
weekend.
done.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sure everybody else has the same.
I
So
just
please
feel like
continue. Keep
the
digging.
sequence is important. The momentum and the buildup is important. So at this point, I have excused myself from my table. My chicken had just arrived. I had a couple bites. I scooted off to go find you at the
Oh,
beer garden.
gosh.
You weren't there.
Between the
then I'm
tragedy
like-
of the high heels and the tragedy of the cold chicken, this is really bringing me to tears.
You're telling
Close,
me.
close. Yeah.
Bill, I
And
was
you-
hungry.
You lived it.
Getting
Yeah.
hangry, bordering hangry. I know. This is my lived
Mhm.
experience. So
Right.
Shiloh and I decide we're going to get in touch with Kristen. So I feel bad. I don't have Kristen's number. So I Facebook message her. She is on Facebook. So she responds and is like, she agrees. She concurs. This is weird. I don't like this.
Ah!
That's when I really actually sincerely, I'm like, I'm nervous. Like that is somebody like what I was saying. I don't know Bill really.
Mhm.
She does. They are colleagues. They are friends. They work together closely, weekly, daily. And she's like, let's not call his wife yet. And I'm like, yes, let's not call the wife yet. let's go to
Actually,
security and get a wellness check.
For the record, I don't have a wife. Partner.
Really?
Your partner, Pamela.
Partner. I'm sorry. I'm
Yes.
sorry. Partner.
Sustained.
say,
Let's not
if
call
you-
the
If you called my ex-wife, she'd say, so
say it's about damn time. She would say, oh, Bill, he always does that. Go
I
eat your
thought about
chicken."
doing the same thing. Sorry.
Irrelevant.
So-
Carry on.
My ex-wife is
I
actually
almost-
lovely. And I'm
I'm
sorry. I said
sure.
that.
Okay, so I wish Shiloh could chime in here because
Oh,
we
me
don't end
too.
up. Oh, we do go to the front desk, and they say you would have to go to security, which is like
Security. I
really
knew this
far
was coming.
away.
Yeah.
Kristen
Mhm.
has since come down, put some
In
clothes on.
in her pajamas.
They were like athleisure wear, I think. And so she is also texting Bill now. So now Bill's phone is blowing up, probably doubly.
I believe Judge Tim needs to declare something here.
Well,
perhaps
I would like-
perhaps he's about to hold Bill in contempt.
No.
Well, we're not there
I've
yet.
done Nothing
Um,
contemptuous. You haven't seen any contempt yet. Wait.
But I would like the
witness.
court. I would like the court to know that Shiloh has been sent a Zoom link, but claims she will likely not join this
Because
live
she
show
works for a living.
because of some client or
She
something
works
like
for a
that.
living.
But she won't join. She won't.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Sorry.
Okay, well,
Resume,
she
please.
may
I
be able
didn't
to
realize we were
corroborate
going to be
post facto.
calling witnesses, and we should reach out to Jess Betancourt to see if she can sort this out. Anyway, please continue.
Well, that's basically
I have a
where it ends.
lineup of witnesses. Well, except for my version of what happened.
Tim, get a handle of your court.
Okay, so I'm going to let you
Well-
start in 1 second. So at this point, Crawl Space has been notified because you guys were all together. I'm at the lobby bar, just like I give up. I don't know where he is. I don't know what to do. We didn't do the security thing. We were just about to. And then Bill, why don't you take it?
Wait a minute. I need to start from the beginning because
Yeah,
if we're going to
okay,
get to
start
the
from your
bottom of
beginning.
it,
Yeah, let's start
Okay.
from your beginning.
Okay, and just for the record, Lance and I entered this situation when Bex and Shiloh were already speaking,
Yes.
I believe, but before
Yeah.
Kristen was called down.
That's
Right.
Oh,
correct.
is that right? Okay.
I think
okay.
that's the
how
way it went.
I need to go back to the beginning though.
Yeah.
So for me, it all starts in an army hospital in Norco, California. I was the second oldest of four. My father was a naval officer. My mother was a nurse. Do we not need to go back this far?
I think you could probably bump it up a little bit
Yeah,
more
couple
current.
decades, couple
Okay, I had a
decades.
happy childhood and
Maybe
never
Little,
went
go
and-
another decade or two.
Okay. Another decade or two. Well, as a young professional, I moved around the country. quite-
Let's skip to
Wow.
2022.
Las
May
Vegas, Nevada.
2022.
Okay. Okay. Well, It all started when American Airlines lost the Mind Over Murder banners and sign holder thing. I just received a check, by the way, and I'd like to thank our friends at American
Good.
Airlines for not only giving me the $40 back that they charged us to lose our banner and banner holder. They also paid for the missing banner and banner holder, and I'd like to thank them. So,
Great.
okay, so here we are in Las Vegas, Sin City. Not my favorite place, for
Me
the
either.
record. Not a big fan. I don't smoke. I don't really drink. I don't gamble. I do like live music, but there was no time for that. And a lot of the things that go on in Las Vegas, I could care about. And then on top of that, I'm not a big sports fan either. And we end up with the, whatever that thing is called, the NFL draft going on, which, as far as I'm concerned, was fun for some folks, but noisy for the rest of us. So flashing forward to the evening in question, I think is where you really want me to go. Is that right? Nora?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. As opposing counsel has mentioned, both Rebecca Sebastian and I were asked to be judges for the Crimecon Awards, the Clue Awards. And as part of that, they said to us if we wanted to attend the dinner while we were at Crimecon, that we were welcome to do that. And so I RSVP'd yes. And I asked my podcast partner, Kristen Dilley, who's my co-host on Mind Over Murder, if she would like to join me. And she said, absolutely yes. But when it came to the evening of the event, Kristen, who had been going pretty much flat out for a couple of days, was really, really tired. And unlike me, where, you know, I'm kind of an extrovert and am energized by talking to fellow podcasters and true crime fans and all that kind of stuff. Ultimately, at the end of the day, Kristen actually finds herself kind of, you know, wiped out by the whole thing. And as opposing counsel mentioned, she was leaving early the next morning to head back to Virginia. So Kristen said to me, would you mind if I sat the awards dinner out? And I said, sure. Now, this is the first Clue Awards, the event, and none of us had ever been to the Clue Awards before, so we didn't quite know what to expect. I was very surprised when I went down to the ballroom, and it's a massive ballroom set up with rounds. This photograph, as provided by Ms. Sebastian, is evidence. It was actually a pretty major event. And by my estimation, I don't know, there were 600 or 800 people in the room. I mean, there's a ton of these round tables set up, I think, with 10 people per table for this fancy dinner. And there's going to be a real live professional awards show. Now, I shouldn't be surprised by any of this, because when Crimecon puts their mind to it, they do put on a very strong presentation. So even though this was the first awards, and I actually thought, I don't know, you know, there'll be 50 or 100 people there, and it'll be like the, you know, the kickoff for this idea that they have about the Clue Awards. But instead, it ends up being this like really big thing. But it was the first year. And so there were a couple of glitches, and I'm not criticizing, I'm just offering a partial defense. So when we got to the table, and I was with David and Kristen Middleman from Othram Labs. And when we got there to check in, it was very vague about where you were supposed to sit. And this is where we start to get into some problems. So there were table numbers, but this is a gigantic ballroom, and it's really hard to find the table numbers. And most folks who were attending, myself included, were not assigned a particular table. We were just told to sit anywhere. And even the Othram folks, who I happened to have just fallen into step with, I think, on the way in. And they said, "Oh, why don't you sit at our table?" And I said, "Oh, that would be great." And they said, "Where's Kristen? Is she going to be joining us?" And I said, "No." And I didn't make the connection, Rebecca, that you were thinking that we were going to necessarily be seated together.
Yes, that is clear now.
Yes,
Yes.
exactly. And so what happened was we got to the place where you check in, and they said to the Othram folks they were supposed to be seated at a particular table, which was way down front. I wasn't anticipating sitting there, but they had said to me, "Would you like to join us?" And I said, "Sure." So I ended up sitting way down front with David and Kristen Middleman, Paul Holes, and then a group, the rest of the table were kind of was kind of filled in by other people that were true crime fans who were incredibly nice, but they were from various parts of the country. And so we all sit down and we start engaging this very animated conversation. Where are you from? What do you do? That sort of thing. And of course, a lot of people are, how should we say, fangirling all over Paul Holes, which is, his cross to bear. And then Paul and I were trying to engage in conversation as well, because Paul's trying to get an update with what's happening with my sister Kathy's case, the Colonial Parkway murders. It's always, whenever we see each other, which is not very often, he always asks me what's the latest, and we talk about the case and that sort of thing. And he's an intensely curious and brilliant guy, and he always wants to know kind of what's going on. But he ended up kind of being waylaid by all these folks coming up and talking to him, which I understand is the way his life is now. So I'm sitting next to David Middleman, and Kristen's, I think, to his left, and then Paul's next to her. So we ended up having this wonderful conversation with all these other people at the table. Plus, there's this awards really show going on that was incredibly professional, with sound clips and speakers and video presentations and so on. And the whole thing was very engaging. So between the conversation at the table and the fact that, you and I had both been judges, and I really did want to see what was not just nominated, we knew that, but also what had won in our category. I judged podcasts. I'm not sure if you judged podcasts or something else.
I also wanted to see.
Yeah, we all judged. Sorry, we all judged, and I was actually really curious to see which ones of the ones I thought were the strongest ended up being the winners, because they don't tell you. Okay, I had an idea because of different podcasts I'd rated highly, but I didn't know how many other judges there were, et cetera, et cetera. So I really wanted to watch the show. So my phone was on silent, and it was sitting in front of me. So the iPhone's sitting there, but it's sitting face down on the table. And I thought, and truly, I mean, I know I'm joking, but I'm not. I thought I was being polite to the producers of the show and the people at my table. And, you don't want to sit there. And plus, like, I'm in the front row. I don't want to be staring at my phone. So I just put my phone face down on the table and talked to all the nice people and watched the show. We were like, wow, this is amazing. I didn't expect this. It was slick and well done and very professional. And so the evening kind of progressed, and I didn't look at my phone. And then at some point, David Middleman, who's sitting right next to me, sort of elbows me, and he also does some very, very serious work in the true crime space, but he also likes to have a good time. And he and Kristen do have a lighthearted quality, which I think helps balance out some of the challenges we all face. And he and I have known each other quite well over the last couple of years, and I know he likes to tease. So he's sort of elbowing me or something, and he's saying, "Are you missing?" or something like that. And I said, "What do you mean? I'm sitting right next to you. Why would you think I was missing?" And he, I think, thought it was a joke as well. And then so he's sort of turning it into, well, clearly you're missing because you're seated at the off-ramp table, and stuff like that. Like that was Siberia or something. And I had no idea that anyone was looking for me, because you're blowing up my phone, which is sitting in front of me, but it's on silent and it's
Right.
face down, not lighting up, at least within my eye view. And I'm watching the show going, well, this is pretty good, you know? And I have no idea that you're, you know, wondering what the heck happened to me, wondering why we're not seated together. And then it kind of progresses from there. So I know we've been teasing you about it, but seriously, I apologize. I didn't mean to disappear or go missing or anything like that. It's a good thing I wasn't, you know, back in my room with the Barbie twins or something, because then I would have really gotten in trouble.
Well, let me tell you, everything crossed my mind, including like maybe your plans changed and these are private plans. And that was part of my hesitation to make it
Maybe
a
I
huge
shouldn't go public about this.
Right. And I didn't. I mean, I was telling trusted crawl space people who knew you, like trying to get a read, like, am I overreacting?
I'm not trashing
To
Bill's
hear you-
reputation, but could he be drunk and in a bar with two hookers and,
Exactly.
you know?
But then Kristen says he doesn't drink or gamble or smoke. And I'm like, well, then he slipped in the
He does
freaking
like live
shower.
music though.
No, I was worried you had an accident and like you could be in your room on the ground. Like I really wasn't thinking you were actually abducted or murdered. I was more thinking, had you fallen? Like, I don't know. So to hear you say this, it's very helpful. Like the phone down makes total sense. Silence. You were being a nice, polite table guest.
Right. Now, both the Middlemans are doctors, but I don't think they're medical doctors, but I still think I would have been reasonably safe.
Well, I was picturing it more like in your room or on a stairwell or somewhere else.
Had been slugged and left.
Yeah, someone broke their legs.
By the
I don't know.
By the two hookers who
took your
took
money,
my wallet and my,
Mhm.
you know, mind over murder banner and absconded.
But I think to tie this up in a bow, around after midnight, I'm sitting at the lobby bar, and a text comes in from Bill saying, "Hey, let me just make sure I get this right." It's something like, and this is after like 16 texts from me. It says, "So sorry I missed you. I ended up at table 9." Like, so that sincere little story that he just gave us was different from what was relayed via text. So when I saw that, I was like, "Oh,
well,
table 9.
Again,
I don't think
I realized.
I
don't think I realized the scale of what had transpired.
No,
I have to interject here. Can you put up the text messages again? Because I think your response is pretty telling.
I was
one where you say you dipshit, or what is it you say?
No, I just wrote,
"So sorry I missed you. I ended up at table 9. All good."
That's all I could muster. It's all I could muster. You guys.
Because she was like in a melted puddle of.
It was adrenaline mixed with concern, mixed with everything, like that, the amped up feelings of the weekend. It was a lot. It was a lot.
Well, you're a mom. Yes.
I am. And I know I did put out like big mom energy that night, like worrying. I'm like, in retrospect, I don't want to blame it on that entirely. It feels a little too like convenient to be like, she's a mom. It's what she does. But
I'm not saying anything to diminish moms.
Yeah.
I'm also a dad. And I remember, you know, many years ago, my son Chris is 24. When Chris was born, my sister-in-law said to me, "Welcome to the club. You'll never be free from worry for the rest of your life." True. And I'm not making a joke here, actually. Everybody I know who's a parent and has been through this process understands that in all seriousness, something happens for those of us that are lucky to have become parents, that you know, you are now responsible, much in the same way you might feel the same way about your, you know, your family or your animal or whatever it is. There's something that transpires in all seriousness where you're never 100% free from worry, because there's always this other person, or in your case, I think more than one children.
Right. Which is like, why did I have room and bandwidth to be so concerned with you, a grown man? Like I still,
I don't know.
In retrospect, I do see that I was maybe like, I don't know, not thinking completely rationally, but I sincerely was worried only because we had just spoken and I was under the impression we were going to walk in and sit together.
Right.
Because I thought that would be
we
more
had
polite
never,
on my part. Like,
well, when we had never talked about that
we didn't
part.
get that far. Yeah.
Right.
I guess that
And
was
then
me.
I just had no idea. I thought we'd see each other,
So did
you know,
I.
when
Yeah,
we-
but it was dark.
well, and the other thing is the scale of the thing was so,
Mhm.
especially with it being a first year.
Yeah.
I thought it was just going to be like this small scale kind of, you know, here's our first year of doing the Clue Awards.
Yeah.
And it ended up being gigundo.
It
So
was. It really was.
and lots of people actually struggled with the where the heck is table 56 or whatever their table number was, and where are the other people that I think I'm supposed to be seated with.
Yeah.
A lot of people struggled with that, and you know those were actually first year problems, I think, because
Yeah.
having run a lot of events like this, you know, big dinners and stuff like that, you know, they usually check you in and they say, oh, hi, you know, and you're at table 112 and that's over here on the left hand side. That kind of didn't happen
Completely.
this time. And then it's not until later, by the way, let me jump back. After the event is over, then I thought, you know, I haven't been to the bar, you know, the lobby bar yet, you know, during the couple of days we've been there. And I thought, oh man, you know, it seems like a lot of the podcasters are there. And I still felt like as great as Crimecon was, it was kind of overwhelming. It was also our first time being on the floor as part of Podcast Row. So we found the whole thing kind of overwhelming, and I still couldn't believe it. We were 2 days into it, and I didn't feel like I'd seen the majority of the people that I know in the true crime podcasting community.
Right.
So I thought I'll go to the bar and I'll, you know, get a chance to say hello to a bunch of folks, which I did do. And that's actually, I think, where I saw Lance and Tim. But at some point when I got there, people were like, I understand you've been missing. I don't know what they were talking about.
Now, I want to just acknowledge that the chat is blowing up and doing very well. And people,
oh my gosh, I'll bet.
People are expressing concern for you, for both of you. And then it starts to take a little bit of a turn.
Right? Can we?
Well,
are these things anonymous or?
No. There's a couple of civilian convictions here. Written.
Oh my
gosh! In the chat. Chris Duet of Criminal Perspective says you're about to be convicted of 1 count of aggravated inconsideration.
Oh my!
He was calling for relevance several times as well.
Yeah,
he wanted to know the relevance of some of that.
Of my extraneous BS.
I am curious, like, where do people rule? Like, I think we should ask people to vote. Like, you know, who would you side with? Like, who is more at fault here? Was I over the top, or was Bill overly inconsiderate?
I don't think this. People can split their vote too.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So yeah, that's a good way to word it.
Yeah.
Well, I'd like to. So, real quick, I just need to dispel the rumor. Rebecca, when this was going on, is it true that you had started an RSS feed called Missing Bill Thomas during the search?
It was called Kill Bill.
Kill Bill. That name's already taken.
Once I knew he was fine, it was called Kill Bill. It was rebranded quickly.
Oh my gosh!
You rebranded. Smart. Okay, good.
Yeah, she's really dialed down the bile level, which is good, actually.
No. I think we're glossing over the moment we saw each other at the lobby bar, because he was like, when he saw me, and I have relief, frustration. I knew he was okay because I had the text. Mm-hmm. He said, you got Kristen mad at me now. Like this is all my fault somehow.
Like I need my podcast partner to think
that was not my intention. So
yes.
to me, I thought
I'm
was
just really glad you didn't reach out to Pamela, my life partner,
I am too.
who really would have worried.
Of course.
You guys kind of went off the deep end here. And so in my own defense, and listeners, pay attention to this now, they almost, turned this thing into like a serious thing, like Las Vegas PD or, contacting Pamela thinking I'm the body in the barrel out there on
the next step would have been the hotel security doing a wellness check. And frankly,
I think if anybody needed a
wellness
check, it might have been.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Oh,
listeners,
Wow.
who do you want for a friend? Like, let's say you maybe go quote unquote missing for a couple of hours. I don't know. I'll say no more.
My God.
I rest my case.
Talk about playing to the jury. This is unbelievable. Here I am being polite and respectful to my hosts, the good people of Othram Labs, and the wonderful people at my table, and showing respect for the incredible production of the Clue Awards, and cheering on my favorites. And I only booed and hissed once or twice. I think I'm responsible and well behaved. One of the things that I'm shocked that Lance and Tim haven't brought up is consumption of alcohol. Had you been drinking that evening?
I'm so glad you asked. I am sober, so I was very revved up on Diet Coke, but not a drop of alcohol. So that is me completely sober. So
okay, well, I hadn't had anything to drink either.
I know.
Although later, one of these two gentlemen did buy me a Diet Coke at the bar.
And in fairness, Tim and I had many drinks.
Well, no, I don't even think that's true. Actually, I think we had maybe had a couple of beers. This was pretty much a completely sober experience.
It was,
which is kind of hard to believe. I know for our.
I know. Honestly, looking back to hear your side
of the story,
I am like, I don't know. I think I'm a good friend, but also probably like take some anti-anxiety meds or something. Like maybe
deeply chagrined.
But I really just had a gut feeling, and my gut was wrong. So I'm sorry if I caused you any like post facto stress. Didn't mean to.
Mm-hmm. I had a gut feeling too, but it was more, I think, the chicken. And I did manage to finish dinner, which was.
I love that Bill's story included just how amazing the dinner and show that I didn't see. That was thoughtful.
and also, I did get a chance to spend some time with Paul Holes, which is always.
Phew. Just kidding. I'm glad for you.
Devin in the chat says, Bill is the cop who says, come back in 24 hours to the mom with the missing kid.
Oh, wait a minute.
Thank you, Devin. Thank you.
That is so, Devin, I must protest. First of all, I'm the missing kid.
It's an analogy.
That's not really fair or right.
And I will cop to, perhaps I was, imbued with the true crime spirit from being there for a couple of days. I was immersed in it. Maybe my brain went there more quickly than it would have normally. So I don't always like go to an 11 when my friend doesn't show up right on time. Most of the time I do, but not every time.
I'm just disappointed that I wasn't up to no good here. In other words, I wish I had a
juicy story.
Yeah,
because then they could have put this on Patreon, like you had to pay to hear because it was so gnarly.
Right.
That's a missed opportunity.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah, but I'm afraid with my bent for embellishment that I'd come up with like a really great story, which would then somehow make its way back here to the to our home in Connecticut, and Pamela would be like, "You were what with who?"
Yeah, that
There's
sounds like a bad idea.
And then I'd be in trouble.
There's some talk here.
Yes.
Criminal Perspective podcast. Did Bill just admit to staging his own disappearance and it's getting backed up? Devin, I think so. I heard that too. Aaron, I heard that. Yeah.
And then let's calls you Sherry Papini part 2.
Oh, no. Man, am
Bill
I
Papini
thrown under the bus here or what?
I think we need to call for a verdict. I don't know. What do you
Oh
community-led
my
verdict?
gosh. I
Yeah.
am an innocent party in all of this. I was being a good judge. That was my role that evening. I was enthusiastic and engaged and respectful of my fellow table mates, as it were. And I'm so sorry that you were not able to join us. None of this would have happened. I'm innocent in all of this. I did not stage my own disappearance. I know I've learned a lot so that next time I do disappear, I'm going to do a better job of it than this, and or come up with a more colorful story. But I'm a little concerned about blowback here at the house.
Well, I too believe I was acting with good intentions, and that I was just doing what I believed was right. Definitely not trying to frame anybody or cast aspersions. So perhaps we're both innocent.
Well, in that regard,
Well, someone has to be guilty here.
Yeah, someone's going to prison tonight.
Someone's going to prison.
oh man.
Well, let me give a couple of closing thoughts here before
Please.
we turn to the jury for vote. Contacted Pamela would have been way too far because, for one thing, the time zone. It would have been 3 hours later. You know, it would have been like past 11. That would have been a rough night and too much for that moment.
Probably
I don't think
a rough life for me from there on.
Yeah, I don't think that.
Heck, what are you doing
was-
out there?
I would say I don't think that was actually going to happen until the next morning. If you were still missing, of course.
Which I was. Not.
Right, which you were not. I was pretty convinced you were gambling
since
somewhere.
I was never missing.
Well, I mean, it's Vegas. There's slot machine sounds. There's a lot. Every stimulation every way you turn, quite literally. And
Right.
even though Kristen then said, well, Bill doesn't gamble, well, then I had in my own mind one of those moments like, well, wow, well, so if he's off gambling, then that's uncharacteristic. Maybe something's wrong here. What's going on?
Yeah.
Or perhaps I relapsed.
Right. So we don't know.
I'm feeling a little emotional about this whole thing.
So it was taken seriously at the time.
I
But
could
not
tell
deadly
because
serious.
I
Like,
was
it's not like we found blood
you guys were not so serious in the bar, which is you guys in bar and not so serious kind of go together anyway. But
Well, we
You
knew
were
we were
not-
fine.
Objection.
Those were soda waters.
yes,
Okay.
we toasted my arrival back from the missing with Diet Cokes, as I recall.
Okay, so let's turn to the jury. I'm
Do
not
we
sure
have any
exactly.
questions for me. I mean, in my own.
I think they've
Yeah, I think we've heard enough.
I think
I think I think we've got a good idea of what happened from Rebecca's perspective, and we've got a good idea of what happened from Bill's perspective. I think there's definitely some middle ground here in where you could say definitely that nobody was wrong or in the wrong. But there are a couple of moments where it shifts to one extreme or the other potentially. So we would like to put this to a vote. So if you think Rebecca was acting perfectly, or I don't know how to put this. How was this worded
Rational.
before? Rational.
I think
Okay.
it should. It's a good question.
Is that perfect, like in a Trumpian sense, like a perfect?
I don't
phone call?
like perfect. Yeah. What if it's
Yeah.
more like, would you have done what Rebecca did? Like, that's an interesting question. Like,
Right.
would you?
Yes.
I
Go
mean,
walk.
Okay.
this is probably
Walk.
not going to do me any favors, but like, I would be curious if people think, would they have done the same thing in my
Right.
shoes?
So would we characterize that as going off the deep end?
No, we wouldn't.
No,
with-
I think the court has ruled that contacting Pamela would have been going off the deep end.
Oh.
And I didn't. I
that
didn't.
evening.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Although you did contact everyone else in that's ever heard my name.
You're welcome.
Okay,
Thank
so an
you.
interesting comment here. Chris says, "I vote to exonerate Rebecca of all charges," but he says, "No, I would not have looked for Bill." So some kind of middle ground that he's isolated here.
Yeah.
Rebecca
Fair.
Wow.
did the right thing, but he wouldn't have gone as far.
Okay. I'll take it.
Okay. Shannon says, "I think Bex acted properly, but I think Bill is not guilty." So she calls him for a mistrial.
Okay.
Wow. Well, yeah. If anything should be headed for a mistrial, it's this debacle.
Retrial. Next Friday. I order a retrial.
Here's another
Just kidding.
question I'd love to know.
Yes.
Should Bill have taken 2 seconds to text me in the middle of, like, prior to this, look at his phone and say, like, don't see you, I'm at table 9. Like, circle up with you later.
Okay.
And I
That's
only
one
know-
other option.
That is a
right?
great question.
So
That's
so
another
that's the other
option.
question to the jury,
Oh
right?
my
When,
gosh.
and another comment here, Lutz says 10,000% would have done the same thing as Rebecca. Okay, so
Really?
now
Is there no one seeing my point of view here? Am I alone?
well, let's find
here
out.
in a room full of 1,000 people.
Let's find out. Let's put it to the
Yeah.
audience.
Was Bill aloof?
Aloof.
Oh,
That
and
mean
Devin goes on to say, "I think if Rebecca thought he was missing and didn't text people, that would have been even weirder, downright
you.
suspicious."
Ooh. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Sus.
I guess so. My self-worth is actually climbing here because I'm flattered that you were worried about me now that I think about
That's a
it.
nice response. If you
Thank
led
you.
with that at the lobby bar, we probably wouldn't be having this conversation right now.
You said all good. I didn't realize that was a problem.
I will take ownership for that. I am guilty of being passive aggressive in that text. That was me
Wow.
being passive aggressive.
Okay.
Guilty as charged.
Guilty as charged.
Okay. Okay.
And I know you were unhappy when I mentioned, Paul's and sitting down front.
Oh, it's
Hey.
fine. I
Hanging
had
out
my
with-
time with him the night before. It's okay. I mean, on stage.
Oh, I'm
obviously,
sure.
yeah,
Well, okay.
whatever it was.
Exactly what do you mean?
Relevance.
Yeah. Strike that from the record.
Poor Paul.
Came out wrong.
Okay, so let's put another question to the jury here about Bill. Let's see, what's the wording for this question now?
Should Bill have communicated
Blameless.
with Rebecca?
I think the word is blameless.
Okay, there it is. Should Bill have communicated with Rebecca about his whereabouts, or is he blameless in this scenario? Lance, do you have would you like to lead the opinions here?
Sure, I was just chatting back. We got a bunch of new people who just joined.
Wait a minute, they're like,
Can you
"What?"
please, Your Honor, rephrase or redeliver the question?
Son of a bitch!
He got distracted.
If I can remember it,
Should,
It was-
should Bill have communicated with Rebecca prior? Like,
should have.
when he
Okay,
realized
that's right.
things were
Or-
going differently, should he have just shot me a quick text?
Or do you find, let's not forget the back half of that sentence, or do you find Bill blameless?
Okay, is Bill blameless, or should he have sent Rebecca some communication?
Well, hearing Bill's explanation of wanting to be a good event attendee and
Right.
not go to his phone, and he was very aware of how polite he should be at the table, I would have thought that politeness would have translated as well to prior to the event, extending the information or the offer to sit at table 9, reaching out. So the politeness is a bit of a rub for me, Bill.
Really? If I had known that Rebecca was wandering the hotel looking for me, of course I would have invited her to join us in the front row, right down where
Paul
the
Holes.
action, right
Here's
down
Now
where
he-
the action
yeah.
was.
Here's a scenario. When you first sat at the table and they were like, is Kristen your co-host here with you? what if, picture it, you said, no, I'm actually joining my friend Rebecca from the Dialogue podcast, a different person.
Right.
Speaking of Rebecca, where the heck is she? Maybe I should go searching. Like, maybe that's when I might have occurred to you and been like, where is she? Oh, I wonder if we were going to sit together. And that might have been when you like looked at your phone before seating. I don't know, just an idea. Maybe that's just how I am.
Well thought out. If slightly absurd.
Okay, well, let me interject here for a moment.
Yes,
Now,
please.
Bill did help Rebecca get into the event.
True.
So there was a level of politeness here that he did display. He did not text her his whereabouts. The question that the chat and the jury wants to know.
The word gracious comes
Yes.
to mind.
The court recognizes your graciousness.
And other magnanimous is another
Yes.
word. And I think
Photius.
Bill, the whole case hinges on this one question here.
oh my gosh.
When did you read the frantic text messages from Rebecca? Thank you to Devin for the question. At what point during that night do you recall?
I think moments before I replied back that I was.
So that's hours later. Yeah.
Oh,
So he
yes.
didn't read them and ignore them.
But
That was a
even-
total loaded question.
Even of course it was. Thank you so much, he said with gritted teeth. The expression kangaroo court begins to come to mind here, but I digress.
What's so kangaroo about this?
Even my the loaded questions. Oh my God.
Well, I would just say, had you answered that differently, you would have been found guilty. I would say the way that you answered it, I would say you're not guilty. But Rebecca kind of tried to put it into the framing of, well, it's 3 hours. How long does it take you to read a text message? But
when one is
with
being polite and
with respect to the show
and respectful of the show and not presenting a disruptive presence as someone
Fair
else
enough.
might have been guilty of.
the court can't charge you for that offense.
What, being a disruptive presence?
No, the court can't charge you for not writing back until after the show.
Yeah, because you didn't read it.
It's the
Yes,
polite thing to
yes.
do. It's just like when
Yeah.
you go to the theater, you're not supposed to be looking at your phone when you're in the theater because of respect to the presenters. And
However, the court finds you guilty of not messaging Rebecca before.
I responded as quickly as I had realized that there was a problem in Rebecca's head.
In Rebecca's head.
Oh,
I'm sorry. Strike the last part.
Just when I was feeling vindicated.
Please allow me to read it. Even my table mates, Kristen and David Middleman and Paul Holes and the others.
we
they
know.
hadn't
Yeah, I know. Tell us again. Who was at your table?
They hadn't realized the seriousness, the magnitude of the concern.
Well,
I'm
my
sorry.
table did.
Right. But
What
even
table number were you?
48. You can refer to the text messages where I tell Bill I'm at table
way,
48.
way in the
Exhibit
back.
A.
Way in the back.
Yeah. Oh, this guy. Okay, we're done here. We are so done.
Is it true, Rebecca?
I'm sorry. Wait, what I meant was we couldn't see each other because we were so far apart.
Because you were blinded by Paul Holes's handsomeness.
And the
Yeah.
lights and they kept swinging the camera over to our table. And so, I had to, play a part here. So even my table mates, when they received electronic communications inquiring as to my whereabouts, thought it was a joke because I was sitting right there. And David Middleman
of
said,
course,
he
sure.
turned to me and he said, "Are you missing?" And I said, "No, I'm sitting right next to you."
Not that I know of. Yes.
And so I didn't know there was any kind of APB out there.
Classic miscommunication. Classic.
How I I had no way of knowing that there was any of this going on because I was being a good, polite, respectful attendee.
Yeah.
There's some talk in the chat about a Paul Holes giving Rebecca a kiss on the cheek.
Oh,
Is
you
this
saw my
true?
TikTok. Yeah, I wish I could pull that up right
Oh
now.
my, I didn't get a kiss on the cheek from Paul Holes.
Well, maybe
Wrong shade of lipstick.
karma didn't go your way that weekend. I don't know what to tell you. Yes, the night before was the launch party for his book, and I hosted a trivia segment where he was on stage for it.
Which
and
I actually was there, and I thought it was quite well done, and I enjoyed your segment immensely for what it's worth.
when I left stage, why didn't you go searching for me? What if I had gone missing? Just kidding. But yes, when I exited stage right, Paul Hull stood to greet me. I thought we would kind of do a half hug handshake type thing, and
He gave you
for
a kiss on the
kiss.
cheek.
Yes, he did.
Wow,
And
I'm
s-
digging it.
So thankful a podcast listener captured it and shared it with me. So
Mhm.
go to my TikTok if you'd like to watch that moment.
Right.
I'll be watching that
Yeah.
on repeat this weekend.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
That's weird.
All right. Well, we'll check it out. All right. Well, are there any final statements here before the court closes this session here today?
I would appreciate the court finding me innocent of all wrongdoing and being, a wonderful, thoughtful human being who even started this whole conversation, my segment of the conversation, with an apology.
You did.
And I so appreciate it. And I accept it. And I would like to say, I feel that this was cathartic, helpful for us to move on. No bad blood. I am worried if someone goes missing and I tell you guys, you're not going to believe me. I'm going to be a little bit like the girl who cried missing. I'm concerned about that.
Right.
But I will
is true.
recover. That is my work to do.
Mhm.
And I thank you for this platform for allowing us to share our stories.
I think all the
You
other
will-
people, I think
you
all
will
the
never
other,
be known as the girl who cried Bill.
and I think all the other people that were in horrible conflict at Crimecon could benefit from Lance and Tim having a get together with. I'm joking.
Meeting the fifth.
Oh, I think we have a ruling here from the public. Shannon said Bill needs to send Bex a hot chicken. So maybe that is the punishment the next time you two are together. I think that is probably the best sentence for Bill. You are hereby sentenced to one hot chicken.
Like a fancy.
I
Like-
need some help here. I thought I was going to send you flowers, and
Flowers are good.
what's a hot chicken?
Chicken is better. It's chicken. It's a dinner. It's for dinner.
Somebody, I'm lost.
I
live in
missed
a
my meal, Bill. I missed my meal when I was searching for you. So Shannon rightly
Okay.
believes I am owed
Uh,
a chicken
one
dinner.
one hot chicken.
One
dinner.
hot chicken.
Yes.
I was going to say I'm completely at a loss here. I live in a small town in Connecticut. We don't do takeout very much.
Well, Chris Duet suggests that you were sentenced to make a $20 donation to PIs for the missing.
Love it.
Oh, I
match.
actually I'm down with that.
Yeah, me too. I will also match that.
Nice.
Wow,
All right.
does that get
Very
me
cool.
out from underneath the chicken thing
Yes.
I
Yes, it
think the
does.
court would
In
let that
in
go.
lieu of
Yep.
chicken?
In lieu
Yep.
of chicken.
Contribution to PIs for the missing.
You could still send me a hot chicken because now
You
that we're
could.
talking about it, I'm getting a little
I know.
hungry.
Getting a little hungry. It's
Same.
getting to be
Yeah.
that time.
You could buy me dinner next time we're in the same city, Bill. I'll let
That
you
would
buy me
be
dinner.
so fun, and I hope
That's
that
allowed.
we are in the same city
Me
in
too,
the near
me
future,
too.
whether New York City or elsewhere.
Agreed.
You realize I live 2.5 hours outside New York City, and I've only been, and if I'm a former New Yorker, and with COVID and all, I've only been in New York City twice in the last 2.5 years, both
Oh,
times
I believe it.
in to take care of some business and back out
get
in
out.
the
Yeah.
same day. It's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, next time stay a little bit and you can buy me dinner.
There you go.
I'm glad we did this.
Me too. This was fun.
Yes,
Very
thank you.
fun.
And
This was a
I
lot of fun.
had a concern that bus wheels were going to run over me, and I'm thankful. Although, if Chris Duet had anything to say about it, I'd have tire tracks on me now.
Yeah, I think both your records are expunged at this point. So
Oh.
well done.
Good
Thank you
use of
for
expunged.
Yeah,
Thank that-
exactly. It's
I'll
also
thank
not the
Chris
first time
Duet.
that's happened to me, anyway.
That's for part
Chris
2.
Duet's really feeding me the legal terms here.
Oh, yeah. The jargon.
I appreciate it.
And Shiloh did participate on some level. Dr. Shiloh did participate in some level.
She did.
In the background, which is
Mhm.
very, very nice. And I'd like to thank all the participants for being so kind.
Okay.
Feeling
Well, good.
A little emotional about the whole thing.
Well, case closed. Good
Case
job,
dismissed.
everybody. Case dismissed.
We have to figure out when we're all going to see each other. That's the only thing.
We'll have a sidebar about that.
Right.
Yes.
And I haven't decided yet. Do you know who you want to play you in the 4-part true crime?
Great question.
Great question.
'Cause I haven't quite decided yet.
I would love to hear who people recommend. I'm
Lo-
not sure.
I think I don't think I'm on a line saying this, that thinks that Rebecca and Kristen Dilly share a similarity in
Could be
looks
sisters.
department. Yeah, so maybe we can
Yeah.
switch roles there, and that could add something fun.
Yeah.
Well,
Little
I hope
Freaky
so.
Friday.
I hope there's no no hard feelings with either of you or your twin sister
No,
In
for sure.
direct-
No.
in my direction.
Well, party at Shannon's house in Connecticut.
Woo.
All right, everyone. This was fun. Have a great Friday afternoon and weekend.
Thank
We
you.
really
And
appreciate
stay in
you
touch
joining.
and don't go missing.
Don't go missing. Stay sexy and don't go missing.
Oh
But if you-
God,
but
don't
if
get
you
me
do,
started.
I will look for you. Hashtag I will look
Find
for
you.
Hashtag Rebecca will find you.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
All rise.
Bye, everybody. I'm still here.